NRL chaos in Brisbane. Papenhuyzen concussed, Nelson banned, Hughes injured. Nightmare for the Storm. Under the blaze of a Brisbane night where maroon and purple split the sky, 80 minutes of thunder tore through the soul of a dynasty. 3 of Melbourne's pillars fell, and with them, perhaps, the illusion that the Storm are untouchable. Suncorp Stadium, September 4th, 2025. 52,000 Queensland hearts drum in unison beneath floodlights sharp enough to carve glass. The Melbourne Storm, minor premiers and perennial giants of the Craig Bellamy era, arrive with second place secured, confident, methodical, and merciless. Across the halfway line, the Brisbane Broncos wait like wolves starved since 2006, aching to remind the league that Lang Park still devours empires. The game opens with poetry and chaos. Reece Walsh intercepts, flicks a no-look spiral, and Josiah Karapani soars through purple air to score the fastest try in Suncorp history. The hill erupts, maroon flares rise, a grandfather lifts his granddaughter high enough to see a hero in full flight. The Storm answer with clinical resolve. Will Warbrick crosses, Nick Meaney slices, and the scoreboard hums at 4-12. But in the 25th minute, fate tightens its grip. Jahrome Hughes, the Dally M magician returning from a dislocated shoulder, wraps Brendan Piakura in a perfect tackle. A crack echoes through the roar. Hughes clutches his left forearm, face pale, and walks the tunnel alone as the stadium falls to silence. 10 minutes later, lightning strikes again. Nelson Asofa-Solomona, 6'9" of Polynesian fury, launches into Ben Talty. Shoulder meets temple. The Sin Bin siren screams. Nelson walks off, head bowed, knowing the judiciary already waits. Bellamy's jaw sets like stone. He's seen this film before. Finals month, chaos and consequences. The Broncos smell blood. Walsh drops a 40-20 that kisses the sideline like a prayer. Karapani scores again, but the cruelest moment comes at the end. Ryan Papenhuyzen, chasing a grubber with trademark abandon, collides with Karapani's shoulder. He stays down, glassy-eyed. The independent doctor waves the flag, failed HIA. 11-day stand down. 3 blows, 3 stars gone, the siren sounds. Brisbane 28, Melbourne 18. But the cheers fade beneath the weight of what's just unfolded. On the big screen, the replays loop. Hughes cradling his arm, Nelson staring at the turf, Papenhuyzen helped upright by 2 trainers. 3 pillars, broken under Brisbane's moon. By dawn, the diagnosis is brutal. Hughes fractured radius, surgery scheduled, season over. Asofa-Solomona, grade 2, careless high tackle, 3-match ban, likely finals done. Papenhuyzen, category 1 concussion, mandatory rest. Add to that Sean Bloor's fractured larynx from the week before, and the Storm's spine has snapped. Social media explodes. Storm nightmare trends worldwide. Slow motion clips dissect every impact. Commentators speak in hushed tones. Brisbane callers gloat. Melbourne mourns. Yet between the noise, compassion hums. Messages flood in from rival clubs. Polynesian elders pray for Nelson's calm. Kids in Storm jerseys draw rockets for Pappy the Rocket. Inside Army Park, silence reigns. Bellamy stares at a whiteboard of replacements. Wishart to half, Meaney to fullback, Utoikamanu promoted to starter. Harry Grant rests a hand on his coach's shoulder. We've bled before, coach, he says. We bleed purple. Across the league, historians whisper of 2008, the salary cap apocalypse, the year empires cracked. They say dynasties die in nights like this. But in Melbourne, defeat has always been raw material for rebirth, because that's what sport does best, strips back the armor to reveal the humans underneath. Hughes, the Hawera kid who outran poverty with a spiral pass, faces months of metal pins and rehab. Nelson, the gentle giant who reads bedtime stories into Real Maori, must confront the cost of his fire. And Papenhuyzen, who once came back from a shattered kneecap and 10 weeks of concussion fog, stares once again into the tunnel of uncertainty. But in their wounds lies the truth of the game. Greatness isn't about staying unbroken. It's about rising fractured and still fighting. The young guns step forward. Tyron Wishart, the quiet achiever, takes the number 7. Suafa Logo, 19 and fearless, trains at fullback, eyes blazing. Stefano Utoikamanu lifts at dawn, whispering, "This one's for Nelson." Humanity flickers in small moments. Payne Haas, who felt Hughes' bone crack against his hip, sends a text, "Tell Jahrome I'm praying, brother." Reece Walsh visits the Storm Room's post-game, presses his forehead to Papenhuyzen's, and says softly, "Get up, King. League needs its rocket." Even referee Ashley Klein calls Bellamy to apologize for the night's cruelty. Reflection settles like fog over Melbourne. What does it say about us that we cheer the collision, then grieve its cost? That we crown warriors one week and cradle them the next? This is rugby league's paradox, brutal enough to break bones, tender enough to break hearts. In lounge rooms from Frankston to Logan, parents pause the replay. See Hughes walk off, they say. That's courage. See Nelson own it? That's manhood. See Paps fight the fog again? That's hope. The nightmare becomes parable, proof that falling isn't failure, only flying delayed. 3 days later, Hughes sits in a surgeon's office, purple cast gleaming. He studies the x-ray and smiles. I'll win a premiership with one arm, he tells the nurse. Watch me. Papenhuyzen wakes to a message from his sister. 50 Storm juniors with paper rockets strapped to their backs, chanting, "Poppy flies again." He laughs, laces his boots, and jogs along St. Kilda Beach, each step a quiet vow. Nelson drives to church in Dandenong, kneels and prays for patience, not pardon. He spends his suspension coaching kids, teaching them to tackle with heart and head in balance. The band becomes baptism. Bellamy gathers his men beneath the grandstand that bears his name. They took our spine, he says, voice steady. Good. Spines regrow stronger. We play for the fallen now. The room erupts, not with anger, but belief. Week 1 finals, Storm 24, Bulldogs 18. Wishart kicks the winner. Falogo races 95 meters. Utoikamanu runs for 210. Every point costs blood. Every tackle feels sacred. The Purple Army roars. After full time, Bellamy wipes his eyes. Hughes is watching with a beer in his good hand. Nelson's mowing the church lawn. Paps is passing his tests. This is for them. Tears fall unhidden. The legacy of that Brisbane night is already carved in stone, not in pain, but in perseverance. The night that tried to end a dynasty only reminded the world why dynasties endure. Because when the storm comes, and it always does, Melbourne doesn't hide. It becomes the lightning. So next time your team limps off battered and short-handed, remember September 4. Remember the crack, the sin bin, the concussion. Then remember the resurrection. Because in rugby league, the nightmare is never the end. It's the spark before the rise. Hold your scars close, Storm faithful. They are purple medals. And somewhere out there, Hughes, Nelson, and Pappy are already running laps under heaven's floodlights, smiling, whole, and ready to strike the sky again.